Resting Bliss Face. Welcome to season 2 of the Soul Potential podcast, where we explore living as magic. So, I want to talk with you about your smile, not the performative one and not the polite one, but the one that arrives at the corners of your mouth when your soul remembers. I used to think that something was wrong with me. I've been told more times than I can count that I look angry when I'm focused. My natural resting face has a real sharp edge to it. The truth of this conversation is that years and years ago, I actually didn't feel very happy inside. In fact, I didn't feel a lot at all. And so when someone told me that I looked angry, it made me incredibly self conscious. And what I did, as any spiritual seeker might do when you're trying to improve yourself, is that I attempted to fix it. I remember going to therapy sessions, healing sessions, even training myself to hold a half smile, thinking that if I looked lighter, I might feel lighter inside. But here's the thing about programmed perception and a manufactured smile: the collective doesn't worship joy. It worships the performance of happiness. Why? Because that's profitable, controllable, and ultimately empty. When we believe that happiness is a currency in capitalist systems, your emotional state becomes a commodity. A happy customer buys more. A happy worker is more productive. A happy woman is more likable. Smiles equal safe equal sellable. Because joy is a threat. Real joy is sovereign. It isn't earned, it isn't sold, it radiates from within. And sustained states of joy don't rely on achievement, external approval, or reward systems, so they don't fuel the machine. People who live in true joy can't be manipulated through fear or lack, and this makes them structurally dangerous. The system prioritizes how you're seen over how you actually are. And a smile can be weaponized to hide pain, avoid conflict, or mask dissent. We've been taught to curate appearance rather than regulate frequency. The consumption loop is why happiness plus stuff is always linked. The engineered emotional equation is you're unhappy, therefore buy this. And then consumption is framed as a solution to disconnection. Every ad, narrative, or influencer moment is coded with the idea that you're not enough until you live this life. You are not enough until you have this product. You are not enough until you acquire something else. And the reality is that the death of sustainable joy comes from where we chase happy moments, not joyful lives. We end up stacking feel good stimuli to escape a mediocre baseline instead of upgrading the baseline itself. The technical truth of joy as a frequency is an entirely different conversation. So let's get into the precision of magic. Joy is a biological signal of coherence, heart, body, and brain alignment. Joy is a nervous system imprint of safety and creative permission. And joy is a field resonance that magnetizes synchronicity, connection, and abundance in our lives. But it also requires presence, not stimulation, self sourcing, not external validation, and attunement to subtlety, not performance, which means joy is quietly powerful and unmarketable in traditional systems. Someone recently accused me of being all rainbows and sparkles. And coming from the original story that I shared with you, it was a huge compliment, but not to them. For them, it was actually a dig, a suggestion that I must be delusional, because calling someone all rainbows and sparkles in the way that it was shared with me felt a little bit ironic. Because if you truly understood what it meant to be a rainbow, you'd know that rainbows are made of every frequency. So to be a rainbow, we get to feel the full spectrum. It doesn't mean that we're always happy, because we're feeling rage, grief, ecstasy, wonder, And we still choose awe. We still choose light. We choose to become the prism, not the pain. The funniest thing about this is when I tune in to what caused me to numb my emotional landscape years ago, it really was about all of the felt sensations that were too much for me, too overwhelming in the collective. And at some point in my life, it just became easier to not feel it all. At the end of this journey, I can say one of the most rebellious things you can ever do in your life is to stop performing happiness and start embodying radiance. Begin to actually feel the truth of every sensation, emotion, and experience that living as magic can provide for you. Because when you learn to elevate the range of your expression, that's not just a smile, that's a frequency. That is magic lived.